Okay, good morning everyone. Yes, we are live now. Please confirm. Am I audible to you? Please confirm. Am I visible to you? Yes, we are live now. Welcome to this live session of Cost and Management Audit Fast Track Batch. And yes, within a very short span of time, we will aim to attain 80 plus marks in Cost and Management Audit. That is the bare minimum target which I set for all my students. Guys, attaining 80 plus marks in Cost and Management Audit is very easy. You just have to follow the right strategy. Getting 80 plus marks in cost audit is very easy. Yes, good morning everyone. Good morning and welcome to this live session where we are going to start today a new chapter. The chapter name is Forensic Audit. Now, Forensic Audit is a pure theoretical chapter. And a question from Forensic Audit is coming for last 2-3 attempts continuously. Okay. In 2022 syllabus only, this was freshly introduced as a new topic, as a new area, which was never there in the syllabus which was prior to 2022. 22 syllabus was launched somewhere around 23. So prior to this, Forensic Audit was never a part of the curriculum of CMA syllabus. It has been introduced recently. Why? Because of the growing trend. Because of the growing demand in market for the forensic auditors and growing awareness about what is forensic audit and growing need of why forensic audit is required. So this is a recent development in the industry. Recent development. It's not a very old kind of an audit. It's a very new audit, and most of the auditors are well versed with the traditional forms of audit like statutory audit, like cost audit, like tax audit. But this is something very new to all the auditors, which is forensic audit. So yes, forensic, as the word itself suggests, it is an audit related to frauds. It's an audit related to some mischievous activity, some kind of deliberate attempt to dupe someone else, deliberate attempt to unethically gain some benefit out of someone else. This is known as a fraud, and that is where forensics audit is required. Now, before I come on to the chapter of forensics audit and before I explain to you what are the nitty-gritties of forensic audit, I, in one of my audits, did a very big mistake that, I started doing forensics audit when I was supposed to do statutory audit. So I might have discussed this incidents in brief in my last lectures also, but in this particular lecture, I'm going to delve into a little more detail of this concept called forensics audit, and I'm going to start with my own experience with forensics audit. Although I have not done forensics audit ever in my life in a practical way, but yes, we used to employ fraud detection techniques a little bit, so I'm aware about the techniques. But the activity which I did in one of my audits is actually hilarious and actually a very carelessness on my part. It was really a careless attitude, or maybe I was too young to understand what I was doing at that point in time, but I was doing a wrong thing, and I'll tell you what I did wrong. I freshly qualified chartered accountancy way back when I was qualified as a CA, and I was in the statutory audit division of KPMG. So yes, KPMG is one of the big fours, and I got this opportunity to work as a statutory auditor in KPMG. And during my tenure, when I qualified C, and once you qualify a particular degree, you are in a different high, you are in a different josh, in a different you have a different level of motivation that I want to do something which is out of the world, or I want to do something which is rare or something like that. That kind of a feeling was there in me, but it turned into a very nasty cut. So let me tell you what is the incident was. So I freshly qualified a CA, and my manager told me that Nikkhil, now you are a CA, now I will send you to a client independently. You won't have any seniors. Okay, you do that audit independently. You don't need assistance of any seniors. I will be reviewing your work directly. I said, okay, I'm a CA now. So, 3 years of experience also during articleship. So I was okay with this idea that yes, I will do the audit independently and will get it reviewed from my seniors. Okay. He said, okay. I went to the client, started doing audit in the regular manner in which every audit is being carried out. I asked for vouchers, I asked for invoices for expenses, I asked for all the details of expenses, the details of agreements which have been entered into by the client and the any of the vendors So I started checking everything. So the client would typically give you a profit and loss account and balance sheet before the audit starts. So client gave me exactly the same. Client gave me the balance sheet, client gave me the profit and loss account. Soon as I saw the profit and loss account, I saw a very weird thing in the profit and loss account. In the profit and loss account, there was marketing expenses. In profit and loss account, there was marketing expenses worth 5 crores. Marketing expenses worth 5 crores. Now this was a little surprising. Why? Because the company which we were auditing was a company which was engaged into telecalling. So it acted as back-end function for many of the big giants, like insurance company, like banks. It acted as a back-end support telecalling services. So that was the profile of the company. So now my question was that why would a telecommunication company require marketing expenses? Have you ever seen a TV advertisement or a newspaper advertisement or a billboard saying that, okay, I'm a telecaller and if you want any telecalling services, then you approach me? Have you ever seen that? Answer is no. So what kind of marketing efforts would a calling company put? If it was a FMCG company, okay, ITC, I understand that they incur huge marketing expenses, they incur advertisement expenses, they incur publicity expenses, all these things they incur. I understand that. That is not, ununderstandable. That is not, weird. But this is very weird that a telecalling company is incurring marketing expenses worth 5 crore rupees. So, I asked the manager to give me the vouchers, to give me the invoices. Okay. The first invoice which came to my hand was Lakshmi Motor Company. Located in Delhi, there was an address given and there was a mobile phone given. So this was the bill of Lakshmi Motor Company. Name of the company who was issuing this bill was Lakshmi Motors Company. And what was the bill all about? Bill was about setting up of canopy. So canopy are temporary outlets which are there on the road, and they describe about the product. So you must have seen canopies of water purifiers which are held at the footpaths on the streets, on the busy streets like streets of Lakshmi Nagar. Canopies are there of coaching institutes which publicize their offerings. So canopies were there. So this bill was for a canopy. Canopy was installed all over Delhi. Canopies installed all over Delhi, and the bill was about 1,50,000 rupees. Bill was about 1,50,000 rupees. Canopy was installed all over Delhi for publicity purposes. Now, my two questions were very apparent from this invoice. Two questions are very apparent. Number one, why would a motor company sell canopies? There's no link for this thing. Why would a motor company sell canopies? That was the first question. And what was the second question? Second question was that why would a telecalling company have canopies? Have you ever seen telecalling company having canopies and publicizing their products? So this is an industrial product. This is a B2B business model, right? So when it's a B2B business model, have you ever seen canopies of B2B business model? Answer is no. We don't usually see canopies of business to business model. B2B is never marketing, never does marketing on roads, on billboards or on television. It doesn't happen this way. So it's really weird. I said, okay, let me look at other invoices as well. I found another invoice, and the invoice was in the name of an individual, Mr. Ravindra Thakur. Ravindra Thakur. And this invoice said that the company has purchased banners from Ravindra Thakur. Banners worth rupees 78,000. Banners to be installed all over Delhi. Banners to be installed all over Delhi, and installation charges of banners was also charged from this particular company. Installation charges was 3,000 rupees. So in effect, this this particular invoice was for a banner which is purchased by the company. Banner means those cloth banners, which are put at the streets or the lamp post, or wherever two poles are there. Between those poles, they are hanging for a very good time. They are hanging, but after that they are gone, right? Those banners are being talked about. So again, the question remained the same. Number one, Ravindra Thakur, an individual supplying banners to a telecom calling company. Although bill was perfect, it was a GST bill was absolutely perfect. Okay, this bill was also absolutely perfect. Payment was done in check payment was done. There was no cash involvement. TDS was adequately deducted wherever required. TDS was also deducted. Everything seemed to be absolutely perfect. But somewhere logic was not making sense. It was not logical for me. I didn't find it logical. Somewhere my heart was not convinced by this transaction. Although all the supporting evidences or all the supporting documents was in favor of the company, but my heart was not convinced. There was something that I couldn't explain, which was not okay, which was not right. My heart told me that there's something wrong. There's some problem in it. I said, okay. I looked at many other vouchers as well. I looked at many other invoices which were provided to me by the company. Many other invoices were there which were provided to me by the company, and all the invoices seemed a little off. They seemed a little illogical. I was pretty much convinced that all these expenses were bogus expenses. These were fake expenses, and these bills were actually not real bills. These were fake marketing expenses. So the entire marketing expense, 5 crore rupees, was absolutely fake, which was debited in the profit and loss account. My heart was again and again telling me this thing. And at this point in time, the Sherlock Holmes within me, was strong enough. I felt an imaginary black coat over me, black long coat, which was till knees, okay? I imagined a cigar in my mouth, and I imagined a big hat on my head. And I thought that, kuch to garbad hai daya. In CID style, I thought that, kuch to garbad hai daya. There is some problem in this entire expense of 5 crore rupees, and the Byomkesh Bakshi in me, or the Sherlock Holmes in me gained confidence. And I thought that, let us investigate this matter. And I called up Lakshmi Motors Limited on the mobile number which was given over here from my phone itself, pretending to be a customer, pretending to be a potential customer. I called up Lakshmi Motors Company Limited and asked them, sir, I need canopies. Please provide me canopies. I have to install it all over India. The reply which came from that side was very obvious that, sir, we don't sell canopies. We are into motors. We provide different kind of motors that is used to pump water from underground to above the sea level. Then I called up Ravindra Thakur. I called him up and said that, sir, I want banners. So Ravindra Thakur immediately cut my call. He didn't, entertain me any further, and he did not pick up the call, again. Similarly, I gave calls to 4-5 other vendors who the company was claiming had provided marketing services to the company. I called 2-3 or more vendors, and everywhere there was something fishy. There was something fishy. At this point in time, I raised my collar like this. Oh wow, I have unearthed the fraud. I've just become a CA. Just 1 month back, I became a CA, and I have unearthed a fraud worth 5 crore rupees. Wow, wow. I was happy to the core. I raised my collar like this, and I was walking with confidence in office. But before I could, finally conclude over anything, I thought, let me do one final check. Let me do one final check. I went to this shop, Lakshmi Motor Company, with this bill in my hand. I took this bill with me from the company, okay, without telling the CFO, without telling the management of the company. I took this bill inside my pocket. I came out of the company and I went directly to Lakshmi Motor Company Limited. Their office was located near my home. So I went there and I told them, so this is an invoice and this is a canopy which is you have sold. I want the similar canopy. So the receptionist did not entertain my question. The receptionist was saying, no, sir, we sell only motor companies. We don't sell any canopies. We have motors. You can choose motor. You can take motors. I don't know what bill are you showing to me. But when this bill was presented to the some manager or something like that, his face became red, and he just gushed me out of the shop. He said, please go away. No, this is fake bill. we don't know this bill. He just gushed me away. He just threw me away out of the shop. And at that point in time, I was very, very sure that this is a fraud happening in the company worth 5 crores. And I was confident enough that I became, I just invincible. I felt like aviator. I felt like, Terminator. I felt like no one can defeat me in this world. That feeling was overpowering, and that feeling of power came into me. And I went to my office and I explained each and everything to my manager with added spices, added salts, and I did, events in it, that I did this, I did this, I did this. And I was expecting that my senior will pat my back, increase my salary, give me a promotion, and give me good bonus this year itself. And I might be a idol for entire firm that yes, see this chartered accountant who has unearthed 5 crore rupees of fraud, and all the newspapers would have my photograph that yes, CA Nikkhil Gupta unearthed fraud worth rupees 5 crore. These are in my dreams. And soon as I told all these things to my manager, trust me, he was about to sack me from my job. He demanded my resignation. He demanded my because of my careless, he demanded me to resign from the organization, because I did a very, very, very big mistake. I stepped out of the role of the auditor and stepped into the role of the investigator, which was absolutely not desirable, which was absolutely not permissible. As an auditor, I cannot do cold calling. I cannot call any of the vendors and ask whether, you have supplied this stuff or not. I cannot do that. I cannot do cold calling. No. Without management being informed that I am doing calling, I cannot do that. And of course, I cannot go to any company's office and inquire whether this bill is genuine or not. I cannot do that. As an auditor, you cannot do that. You are not an investigator. You are not a detective that you can do that. You cannot do that. I shouldn't have done all this thing which I did. This was a big carelessness. This was a big mistake on my part. It was absolutely undesirable. This was not expected at all. And that is the reason why I learned this big lesson, that there's a difference between statutory audit, cost audit, income tax audit, and forensics audit. So if you want to do forensics audit, which I gradually did because of my fancy of Sherlock Holmes and CID, which I saw on TV, if you want to do forensic audit, then you need specialized training. Because imagine a situation where the shopkeeper would have attacked me after looking at this fake invoice. He would have attacked me. He would have done some harm to me. I need police involvement for doing all these things. These things are not normal things. This is forensic audit. This is not statutory audit. And one should understand the difference between statutory audit and forensic audit. This difference is really minute, but this difference is very, very grave. This difference is to be understood by each and every auditor, that you are not a forensics auditor, you are a statutory auditor. Don't cross that line ever in your life. You cannot do that. As a statutory auditor, you can just rely on the documents. You just see the documents. If you find something fishy in documents, take this document to the CFO, take this document to the finance manager and ask him that I am finding this fishy. This does not seem correct. Can you please make me speak to Lakshmi Motor Company Limited? You should ask the management to, make you speak with Lakshmi Motors Limited if you have any queries, if you have any doubt. You yourself cannot do cold calling. You yourself cannot go to Lakshmi Motor Company office and ask whether this invoice is genuine or not. You cannot do that. This is the area of forensics audit. So very clear demarcation between statutory audit and forensics audit. Statutory audit only and only relies on documents. Whatever document is in front of you, you have to rely on that document. And if you do not rely on this document, if you find that this document is fake or unrealistic or does not make sense or illogical, whatever, go to management. Management has the responsibility to satisfy your questions. Your queries should be satisfied by the management. And if management is unable to satisfy your queries, then the option which you have is qualify the report, mention this invoice in the audit report and say that there are few invoices which I have seen in marketing expenses which does not seem correct. management has not been able to give me adequate proofs that this is a genuine expenditure, so I reserve my comment on these invoices. You can do that. But you cannot go to Lakshmi Motors company, you cannot call Ravindra Thakur and inquire whether this expense is genuine. You cannot do that. That is the area of forensics audit. And it's a legal audit. It's not a just a compliance kind of an audit. It is not related to the Companies Act or something like that. It's a legal audit where criminal proceedings can be instituted against you if you do any wrong step in forensics audit. So forensics audit is closely related to criminal activity, because forensics audit means that there's a doubt that there's a fraud being attempted in the company. When there's a doubt that fraud is being attempted in the company, only then forensics audit is ordered. Forensic audit is not a normal thing. It's not a every year compliance. Oh, we are doing tax audit done. We are getting our statutory audit done. We are doing our cost audit. It's not a normal thing. It's an absolutely one-off situation. It's an abnormal situation. It's an abnormal thing. So as soon as you hear that a company is getting its forensic audit done, you should definitely be very, very cautious, because it's a criminal proceeding underway. I mean, not proceeding, but it's a criminal kind of an audit. Civil proceeding, criminal proceeding under law, right? Similarly, audit, this is a criminal audit. A criminal activity, there's a doubt that criminal activity has taken place in the company, and then therefore this audit has been ordered. There's no way that in any normal circumstances this audit was ordered. There is no possibility like this. So yes, many criminal activities happen in the company as well, in their finances as well. Many criminal activities happen, because of which statutory audit is not enough. Statutory auditor just looks at the document and relies on the document. That is not enough. So we need to employ forensics auditor. Forensics auditor would come and deep dive into each and every transaction. And yes, forensic auditors can call up Lakshmi Motors Limited. They can go to the premises of Lakshmi Motors Limited and they can, investigate on what are the evidences that prove that there's some fraud, there's some criminal activity which is happening in this particular company. And what do you mean by criminal activity? By criminal activity, I don't mean murder. I don't mean, someone has harmed someone. I mean white collar crimes in India. White collar crimes. So what are white collar crimes? What do you mean by white collar crimes? White collar crimes means to defraud someone and extract money out of someone. That is known as a white collar crime. For every white collar crime, these forensics audit are ordered. There are two kinds of crimes, right? One is black collar crime, which is murdering someone, hitting someone by stone, okay, or stealing some money from someone's account, going to someone's home and stealing some money from someone's account, okay, or snatching chain and going away. This is all black collar crime. What is white collar crime? White collar crimes means the criminal will infuse you into that crime and will influence you to give your money to them. Willingly they will infuse you to give your money to them. The first white collar crime that was ever done in Indian history was done during Mahabharata time. The first white collar crime was done during Mahabharata time. Can you tell me what was the first white collar crime which happened in India for which no forensic audit has ever happened? Any white collar crime during Mahabharata time which has been done in India? Can you tell me? Do you remember any white collar crime which happened during Mahabharata time? The first the first recorded evidence of a white collar crime in India, not a black collar crime, means no murder, no violence, but non-violent crime. Can you name any non-violent crime which has happened in the country during Mahabharata? Do you remember any? Krishna telling Guru Drona that his son Ashwadhama has died. Oh, that is a very good example, but it's not a white collar crime because it was not for financial loss. It was not due to financial loss. It was not to financially dupe someone. The first white collar crime that happened in the country at that point in time was the event when Pandavas and Kauravas did a Dyut Krida. They played a game where okay, can you see these visuals? Please see these visuals. Okay. So these are the visuals where a dice game was played during Mahabharata, and while playing the game, Shakuni Mama, yes, Shakuni Mama, it is said that Shakuni Mama had did some magic on the dice. So dice was doing whatever Shakuni Mama was saying. So the Pandavas were devoid of a fair play. It was an unfair play by Shakuni Mama and Duryodhana, which led to a sacrifice of entire Pandavas. Their entire reign was, their kingdom was given to the Kauravas, and they lost everything in this entire game. So willingly, see the quality. Willingly, a white collar crime means willingly you will give everything to the other person. This is known as a white collar crime. Willingly you will sacrifice everything, and you will not even know that you have been duped with so much of money, and some wrong has happened with you. You won't even know. So these days, something like digital arrest is happening. Are you aware about digital arrest? Yes, sir. Digital arrest is a very common word which is being used these days, and digital arrest means you will get a call from a fake policeman, and he will digitally arrest you in your home, and you will transfer money to his bank account. This is known as digital arrest, and digital arrest is again a form of a white collar crime. This is a white collar crime. Similarly, guys, shareholders and companies also do this white collar crime a lot, and I'll give you examples of many companies who have done white collar crime. So the first example that comes to my mind is a recent white collar crime which happened in the company was Adidas fraud. The recent white collar crime, not recent, now it's been years now for this crime also, but yes, the white collar crime which happened in Adidas is really recognizable, it comes to my mind, because this is one of the largest frauds that we have seen in our country, one of the largest white collar crimes which we have seen in our company. Sir, what happened in this Adidas fraud? I'll tell you what happened in this Adidas fraud. So Adidas as a company was being taken over by another company called Nike. And obviously the valuation is based on sales of Adidas. Whatever is the sales of Adidas, on the basis of sales of Adidas, the Nike would value Adidas company. Okay. So suppose Adidas turnover was, suppose, 200 crores. Now, if there is any way that Adidas can bulk up its sales, it can increase its sales to say 500 crores, then the valuation of Adidas will increase and Nike will pay more money to Adidas owners, right? That is the rule, that is the game, right? So now what happened was that Adidas bulked up its sales. It bulked up its sales in the sense that it introduced fake sales into its balance sheet and P&L account. How did it do that? So the shoes of Adidas were sold to fake customers. So some customers like Ram, Shyam, Sohan, Mohan, some fake customers were generated and invoices were issued in these names, and it was shown in the financial statements that we have sold shoes to Ram, Shyam, Mohan, Sohan, Ghanshyam, etc., etc., etc. And all those shoes were, because these were fake customers, they were stored in a warehouse which was owned by Adidas itself. So there was a warehouse which was stocked with multiple shoes, and those shoes were those same shoes which were sold to Ram, Shyam, Mohan, which were fake customers. So shoes were actually transferred to a warehouse. It was actually shown that shoes have actually gone out of the factory and they were stored in the warehouse, which was Adidas warehouse only. It was not disclosed to anyone, so it was all stored in those warehouses. But the sales were recognized in the books of accounts, saying that these are original sales. The sales have happened. So sales were inflated in a fake manner. And when sales were inflated in a fake manner, Obviously, the sales number increased in the balance sheet in the profit and loss account of Adidas. So obviously, the sales consideration which was paid by Nike to Adidas was also inflated. But in due course, the entire scheme of things came into light, and the CEO of the company and the finance director of the company was accused of inflating the sales in a fake manner to increase the valuation of this particular company. Yes, this is a white collar crime, and forensics audit is deserved and desired in this kind of a crime. Of course, forensics audit is deserved and desired. So these are examples of white collar crimes which has happened in the country a lot. You know the case of Nirav Modi and Vijay Mallya, who took a lot of loans from Punjab National Bank or other banks in the country, and they flew away without even repaying that loan, giving a big hit to the Indian economy. It is again a white collared crime. It is again a white collared crime. Satyam case, again an incidence of a white collar crime. Satyam was a very big IT company which was almost a pioneer in the sector of IT, information technology. Yes, it was in the same sector in which Infosys and all these big companies are there. In that sector, this company used to work. Again, fake sales were reported in this company to inflate sales, to increase the valuation of the company. Fake sales were reported just to impress the shareholders. The idea was to impress the PE investors or the shareholders. So to artificially dupe off their money, to artificially extract more money from them, the sales figures were inflated. And these are all the white collar crimes which necessitate the advent of forensics audit. So what is the reason? Why are these white collar crimes are so rampant in current economy? Why are they increasing by the day? The reason is very clear. Cutthroat competition. Competition is so fierce in today's market. It's so rampant in today's market that to increase profit, you can do anything and everything just to increase profit, because competition is so stiff. There are so many competitors. There are so many products available in the market. If you don't wear Adidas shoes, you will wear campus shoes. If you don't like campus shoes, go to Red Tape. They'll offer you better price and better quality. If you don't want Red Tape, you can go to Woodland. They will offer you even a sturdy shoes at a very reasonable price. So every brand is now competing for their share of market. Market is huge, but every brand is competing for their share of market. And that's the reason why forensics audit come to play. And that's the reason why forensic audit is so rampant in today's world, especially with respect to white collared crimes, where financials are cooked. It's not cooking of financials. Financials are cooked to show a very favorable picture in front of you, and not to let you know that reality is something else. That is known as a white collar crime. I also remember one more instance which happened with me while I was in my statutory audit stint during my times. This was a very good instance where I was auditing a company which used to manufacture some kind of chemicals. And chemicals are usually saved or stored in big xylos. They are known as xylos. They are aluminum or steel round cylindrical boxes which were equipped in earth, and they were very huge, and chemicals were stored in those xylos so that chemicals don't get spoiled. Those xylos were covered with all the protection so that moisture doesn't get in, so that any contamination doesn't get in. They were very protected, so they were known as xylos. Now when those xylos were installed in the backyard of a particular company, and I went to manage inventory of that, to count inventory of that particular company, I went to one of the xylos. The manager told me that, sir, this xylos has got 820 liters of chemical, and you can see the reading, and you can also see that this xylo is full of the chemical. I said okay, I got the reading, and then we started walking towards the other side of the company where the other xylo was located. It was located at a distance. It was the other side of the company. So we were walking towards the other side of the company, and I suddenly heard some water flowing under me, water or some liquid substance flowing under me. I heard that kind of a sound from a pipeline. I asked the client that, what is this water flowing? He said, no, normal water pipeline is going under our factory. That is the water thing which is flowing. I said, okay. But when my mind, my logic, there's something called a third sense which is there with the auditors, and every auditor has that third sense. It develops over a period of time of experience. Develops that third sense. My third sense was saying there's something fishy. There's something which is not making sense. What is this water sound? I immediately asked the client to get me back to the original xylo number 1. And yes, to my surprise, soon as we went there, that xylo was half empty, which means the chemical which was stored in that xylo was being transferred to other xylo so that I can do double counting of the same inventory which was located at that particular company, so that inventory valuation can increase, so that profits can be increased. Again, an instance of white-collar job, white-collar crime, which I could unearth in one of my clients. So all these things necessitate that auditor should now stop working. Okay, whenever you find this kind of a thing, you stop working and you involve specialist, and the name of the specialist is forensic auditor. You have to involve a specialist, and yes, you can also become that specialist. You can attain knowledge, you can attain certification, you can attain relevant experience in doing a forensic audit also. So it's up to you. You can also do that. So yes, do you think that today's chapter is going to be really interesting read? If yes, please write a yes in the chat box. If you think that yes, today's chapter is really going to be interesting for all of you, please write a yes. Yes, absolutely. So yes, one of the most interesting chapters of your syllabus, and one of the most scoring and one of the most important chapters also of your syllabus, which is forensic audit, because this chapter is definitely going to have weightage in your examination, and I expect at least one question from this chapter for sure. For sure, a question worth say 6 marks, 7 marks, but at least one question is bound to be there in the syllabus from this particular, in your examination from this particular chapter. So it's very obvious that this chapter will definitely come in your examination. That is for sure. So be prepared with this chapter. Be very thorough with this chapter, because this chapter is definitely important one. Okay, I hope you understand the importance of this chapter. Okay, so what do you mean by forensics audit? We'll divide the entire chapter into 3 parts. Okay, what is forensic audit? Now, first of all, we'll try to understand what do you mean by forensic audit, what do you mean by investigative activities, what are the investigative activities, and what is the objective of doing audit, why are we entering into forensics audit, and what expert witness during trial, court trials, how are court trials relevant for forensic audit, what is the relevance of courts in forensics audit, what is the connection with courts in forensic audit, that is what we are going to study. Second is, when is forensic audit required, what are the situations where forensic audit will be ordered by any company or any government authority can also audit forensic audit. Even shareholders and stakeholders, where they find something fishy, something is not correct, they can also order forensic audit. So I remember categorically a very strange instance with respect to a company. So there was a company, I'll tell you, there was a company, again a company in which fraud had been unearthed. I don't remember the name now, but a company where the bank balance of that particular company was about 100 crores. Bank balance of that company was about 100 crores. Okay, and the company claimed that it had a ROI of 18%, which was even more than the market ROI of 15%. So market ROI of that company was 15%. The ROI which was earned by competitor company was 15%, and this company's market ROI, the real ROI was 18%. So they claimed that they are better than the industry. Okay, but the bank balance showed a figure of 100 crore rupees. So very simple question from a shareholder. Okay, in a shareholders meeting, a shareholder asked a very simple question, and this question is very logical. What is the question? Question is, if your return on investment is 18%, then why have you left 100 crore rupees worth of cash in your bank, which is reaping you 4%? You should withdraw this money, invest it in the business, and earn 18% return. This was a very logical question. Okay, for raising this question, you need not be a chartered accountant, you need not be a cost accountant, you need not be a company secretary, you need not be a MBA. It's a very logical question. And once this question was asked in the general meeting, the company had to undergo a forensics audit, because doubts were raised with respect to authenticity and the genuineness of the company. And what actually came out of the audit? This 100 crore was fake. Again, fake sales were reported in the balance sheet and the profit and loss account. Fake sales were reported, fake debtors were being recognized, fake realizations happened, and bank statements were also forged, which was shown to the auditors. They were forged bank statements. bank statements were forged. Bank statements were not accurate. There was forging of bank statements. So bank statements can also be forged. Yes, a company can do anything. The company can even forge a memorandum of association, article of association. That can also be forged. Anything can be forged. And that is the reason why after this fraud, all the big auditors, never relied on the bank statements after this fraud was annulled. They always wanted a confirmation from the bank itself. So they went to the bank, they got a confirmation from the bank. This was a procedure which was adopted after this fraud was unearthed. This was, this happened in the year when I was in my articleship, because that's how I remember, 2009, somewhere in 2009, this happened. So yes, these are the white collar crimes which happens, because of which forensics is required. And yes, the objective for ordering of forensics audit is that, what are the objectives for ordering forensics? All these factors lead to ordering of forensics audit. Forensic audit is not a routine thing. Okay, please, I've already told you that. It's not statutory audit, it's not tax audit, that is routine. It is not transfer pricing audit that it is routine. These are not routine at all. These are, very, very typical kind of, situations where forensic audit is ordered. And last thing that we're going to study is why do we need financial audit? What is the requirement of financial audit in today's world? And what are the ways and mechanisms in which financial audit is done in India today? Who conducts forensics audit today? All these things we are going to study in our today's chapter. All right, sir. So let's start today's chapter, forensics audit. Let's start today's chapter, forensics audit. So before starting the chapter, we have already discussed, the difference between the normal audit versus forensics audit. What's the difference between normal audit versus forensics audit? How do they correlate with each other? What are the common overlaps? There are some overlaps, of course. Some overlapping factors are there, but they are class apart things. So audit is checking, normal checking of stuff. Whenever you check any financial statements, cost statements, income tax statements, GST reports, or anything, when you check a normal financial statement, that is known as audit. And forensics audit is investigation. That's not checking. It's not reviewing. It's investigation. You have found out something bad. You've already found out something bad. You've already doubts on something, and then you involve forensic auditor. Positive mindset. Audit is done with a positive mindset that yes, everything is okay. Everything is correct. However, forensic audit is done with a negative mindset. You have already found something and you want to know to what extent is it wrong. So forensic audit is always done with a negative mindset. Routine procedure. So audit is an annual compliance which is required to be done as per the Companies Act. Okay. But forensics audit is not a routine procedure. It happens only when some peculiar transaction is unearthed or some peculiar happening happens in a particular company. Only then forensics audit takes place. Otherwise, a forensic audit is not a routine procedure. Governed by statutory laws. So the statutory audit is governed by statutory laws like Companies Act, like Income Tax Act. They would guide you how to do your statutory audit, how to do your income tax audit. So law will guide you. Okay. However, there is no governing law in forensics audit in India as of now. There are techniques by which training is done for forensic audit, but there's no law. There's no legal framework around forensics audit, that what should forensic auditor do, what is she report, should they report. That is not there as of now. It is carried on by professionals like CAs, CS, CMAs audit, but forensic audit is carried on by specialists who are trained in forensics audit only. They might not be a CA, they might not be a CMA, they might not be a CS. Examples are statutory audit, tax audit, cost audit, and their examples are investigation on fraud done by management of a company. It is narrower in scope, it is broader in scope. Okay, so over here you just rely on the documents, that's it. However, it does not rely on documents. There you have to really investigate and you have to find out the fact to the core of it, to the root of it. Okay, that is broader in scope. That's the difference between forensic audit and normal audit. So what is a forensic audit? Forensic audit is an analysis, review of financial records. So again, first line remains the same as audit. Audit is also analysis, review of financial record, but forensic audit objective is to extract facts or evidences which can be used in court of law. So the reason why forensic audit is done is that there is a court proceeding which is going on or which will go on against the company, and we need evidence in that court proceeding that company has done something wrong with its shareholders. So forensic audit is aimed at finding all the relevant proofs, evidences that the management of the company has done fraud, has done something wrong, which has impacted the stakeholders of the company. So the idea is to find proofs and evidences which can be used in court of law. Forensic audit cover a large spectrum of investigative activities in numerous kinds of illegal activities. So what are the illegal activities for which, forensic audit can be done? Fraud, embezzlement. Embezzlement means you have, you have taken away, some employee has taken away the cash of the company. Cash has been siphoned off by the employee. That is known as embezzlement. Forgery or alteration of documents. You have, misappropriated the documents. And the bank statement shows a figure of 2 crores. You have inflated it to 200 crores. That is forgery, document, alteration of documents. Manipulation of computer files, unauthorized alteration in computer files. So, everything is maintained online now. Tally, SAP, all these softwares are used to maintain the books of accounts. You have done something wrong with those accounts, with those books of accounts which are maintained online. So that is again necessitating forensics audit. Misappropriation or misuse of resources. Whatever resources are available to the company, be it manual resources, funds, equipments, facilities, you have misappropriated those resources. So sometimes employees would steal the finished goods, would steal the raw material. That is misappropriation of resources. Authorization or receipt of payment of goods not received or services not performed. So every service which is performed or every payment which is done for goods is to be authorized by a relevant person. Without gaining any authority, without gaining any approval, you have made the payments to various people which were not required to be done. That is again an unauthorized use of your power. Authorization or receipt of unearned wages or benefits. So authorization or receipt of unearned wages or benefits. You're not having any receipt, you're not having any wage, you're not having any income, but still you are showing that you are having income. You're showing that you are having some sales. That is again a fraud. Conflict of interest, ethics violation. It's a very serious kind of a fraud. Okay, so a few days back, ICICI Bank was actually convicted for this kind of a conflict of interest situation, ethics violation. So the MD of ICICI Bank is a very renowned lady, and husband of that lady owns a business, and ICICI Bank was convicted of giving loans to that business without any collateral security. So this is known as conflict of interest. A business cannot do something which benefits its own employees or relative of the employees. This conflict of interest over here, because shareholders would want that no. While you are dealing with the relatives of the employees, you please deal at arm's length price. If a collateral is required to be given by everyone, collateral should also be given by the relative of the employee. This is known as conflict of interest, again categorized as a white-collared crime. It is a white-collared crime that happens, and the shareholders are at a loss in this situation. So all these activities or all these factors lead to forensics audit. Now, reasons or common areas where forensics audit is conducted. Again, an overlap. The above topic was also similar topic, guys. Okay, corruption. Whenever there is a corruption in office, so you have heard a lot of times in government offices. Okay, and I also heard it was very long back that this news came to me that the 26th January parade which happens in Delhi, in that parade there's a lot of flower decoration which happens, right? A lot of flower decorations which happen. And the flower decoration which happened in one of the year's parade was actually exorbitant. It was running into crores and crores of rupees. So the CAG, Comptroller Auditor General of India, raised that question from the ministry that why flowers of crores and crore rupee have been spent. This doesn't seem normal, because we understand flower decoration is expensive, but not that expensive. Okay, so the thing which came out later on was that that flower decoration, the ministry officials had actually were bribed by a flower vendor. So bill was cleared for the flower vendor, and flower vendor gave kickbacks to the ministry officials, which is a very usual common practice in a government kind of an organization. Now things have improved a lot, trust me. Rewind 10 years back, corruption used to be at its peak. Everything used to be corrupted. I mean, the flowers which are being made, with the government tenders which are being floated for creating the roads, everything was liaised by corruption. But now it has reduced a lot. And don't think that corruption happens only in public companies or government companies. No. Corruption also happens in private companies. Yes, corruption happens in private companies also. I'll give you a very, very rampant example. So, one of my companies where, a raw material purchase was happening and purchase manager was responsible to purchase raw material. Purchase manager used to get kickback from the company which, got the tender for raw material. And purchase manager was actually the person who would tell the company that quote this price, you'll get the contract. The company used to quote that price, it used to get the contract and used to give kickback to the manager. So if you think corruption is only a government office trade, answer is no. Corruption also happens in private companies. So wherever corruption is there of course forensic audit is required in a business or a company. Extortion means using force, threat or violence to extract money from any other person. Digital arrest is a very good example of extortion. These days, you yourself are actually giving away your money to criminals. Cyber crimes are increasing by the day. And forget about digital arrest. You get some link on your email or your mobile phone. You click that link and your bank is wiped off. These kind of frauds are very rampant in today's world, guys. So extortion is another type of white-collar crime against which forensic audit is required. Bribery. Yes, you bribe someone. Okay, again, a subset of corruption only. Right, so that is also need for forensic audit is there in this section also. Conflict of interest. So wherever company is gaining any personal profit, wherever official of the company is having any personal profit, and he does that thing because of a personal profit and not profit of the company, he doesn't think about the profit of the company, he thinks about personal profit, their conflict of interest happens. Anything done to gain personal profit and which is unfavorable to the company is categorized as conflict of interest. For example, a manager may approve the inaccurate expenses of an employee who is also his personal friend. So manager is approving the expenses of an employee which are illegitimate expenses, not authentic expenses, because the employee is the friend of the manager. This is kind of a conflict of interest situation. Then frauds, of course, I've given you so many examples of frauds. Misappropriation of assets, fake increase in valuations, fake increase in sales, fake decrease in liabilities, hiding of liabilities. People don't show their liabilities in their books of accounts, in their balance sheets. Hiding of liabilities. Okay, all these are very good examples of fraud which is happening in the entire industry. And yes, financial statement frauds, FSF, are very common these days. Companies' financials are very, very polluted, they are corrupted, and therefore need of good auditors who are experienced, who are professionally skeptical, who are good enough at their work is really, really required. So that is a requirement in today's world. So because of these reasons, guys, forensic audit is ordered. Now, what are the steps in forensic audit? What are the functions of forensic audit? What are the things that we need to do in our forensic audit? What steps do we take when you are a forensic auditor? That is what we are going to see now. Alright, so steps in forensic audit. Forensic audit comprises the following steps. Number one, accept the forensic audit engagement. So first and foremost thing is, whether you want to accept the forensic audit engagement or not. So why do you say this? We are cost accountants and we are rank holders. We have done, rank in our CMA final. We are a rank holder in CMA final and we have done really good in our CMA finals, guys, sir. So we are a cost accountant. It's okay, guys. You might be a cost accountant. You might be a rank holder. But forensic audit needs different kind of training. Forensic audit needs different kind of expertise. Forensic audit needs a different kind of, acumen. Only your financial knowledge is not enough. Your investigating knowledge is also required. So first and foremost, please think, okay, don't just accept, oh yes, forensic audit, we will accept it. We are cost accountants, we will be able to do it. No, wrong approach. Forensic audit requires specific acumen, specific skills, and specific tools are required. Expertise, specific expertise is required. So first of all, think whether you'll be able to do justice to forensic audit engagement. Only then accept it. Otherwise, don't accept it. Unless and you are experienced, you have got the required equipments, you have got the required tools, you have got the required expertise. Unless and you have all these things, do not accept any forensic audit engagement. It will be very, very risky for you, because tomorrow you will be held liable if anything is missed out in the audit. So please be very careful in accepting the engagement, audit engagement. So guys, we have studied cost audit completely. We have studied, a fair bit of management audit. We have studied a fair bit of internal audit. We have studied a fair bit of operational audit. But in none of the audits, I have ever told you that be skeptical in accepting the engagement, right? This is the first time I'm telling you that while accepting the engagement, think thrice or 4 times. There has to be some reason behind it. You are not an investigator. Unless you are trained, unless until you are, have a little bit of experience with someone who's done forensic audit, unless until you know the standards according to which a forensic audit is done, do not accept this engagement. It will be very, very risky for you. Okay, so if you have accepted it, now you plan the investigation, you plan the team, and you plan what are the objectives you need to fulfill to conduct this audit, and you plan accordingly. Then finally, the most important area or the most important step is to cull out the evidences and proofs. And yes, conclusive proofs are required, not just documents, conclusive evidences are required, which concludes that yes, this thing is wrong. It's not just your gut feeling. Like auditors work on their gut feeling. They work on the documents which are available in front of them, but investigators do not do that. Investigators need to have solid proof that yes, this thing is wrong. Lakshmi Motor Company bill is fake. We want solid proof. So evidences are to be collected. They are to be gathered, should be sufficient to prove in the court the identity of the fraudster, who is the fraudster, reveal the details of the fraud, who has done the fraud, how much is the quantum of the fraud, and document the financial loss suffered by the parties due to the fraud. What is the financial loss that has been suffered by the parties, that is also required to be documented. So all these things are required. Then reporting, the forensic audit will need a written report. There's no legal format, statutory format for this report, which has been prescribed by any law. There's nothing of this sort, okay. The report is only based on your experience, whatever report you make, but you prepare a detailed report on the entire forensic audit. Court proceedings, the final stage is court proceeding. Of course, your report is not relevant for the management because management is now surrendered before the courts. Now your report will be read only by the High Court and Supreme Court judges, who will decide what is the extent of the fraud, who will decide what will be the fate of the CEO, what will be happen to the CFO, what will happen to the company, whether the company will be shut down or whether the company will continue. The court will decide this. So court proceedings are the final destination of any investigation, any forensics audit. Have I ever told you that statutory auditor needs to go to court or you have to present your report to the court? No, because statutory auditor doesn't do that. Cost auditor doesn't do that. It's only forensic auditors who are required to actually report to the court, and court proceedings are required. The need for forensic audit, why is there a rampant need of forensics audit? Why are forensic audit so popular these days? The reason is very simple, that there is a increase in financial crimes, which I, in popular terms also I call it as white collar crimes. There's an increase in white collar crimes today in the world. New and innovative fraudulent activities, okay, which includes cybercrime, is on an increase. New and innovative fraudulent activities, which includes cybercrime, is also on increase in today's economy. Then prevention is better than cure. Of course, you should prevent any fraud from happening rather than curing it. So you should definitely involve some bit of forensic investigation also in your business activities from time to time. It will keep a check on the management, and it will keep a track on your entire business. Theft of business information, again, some people suffer business information loss because for some sectors, for some professions, their information is the key. Intellectual property is the key. For example, in my profession, teaching profession, the content which I am giving you is my asset, is my biggest asset. Intangibles is my biggest asset. These videos which I am recording, this is my business asset, and this is my biggest asset. So if someone steals these business information or these business assets, then I'll be, or any other person will be at a loss. So there's an increase of theft of business information also. Issues identified by the whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are people who are company insiders, and they find something fishy happening in the company, so they blow a whistle to the outside world that something is happening which is not right in the company. Again, whistleblower policy is very common in every company, and whistleblowers are also rewarded, and they're also protected from the negative doers. So whistleblowers are common, therefore forensic audit is required when whistleblowing happens. Reconciliation resulted in unidentified material differences. So wherever some reconciliation has taken place, like bank reconciliation statement. Sometimes GST reconciliation statement happens, right? GST is reconciled with the books. So all these reconciliation, if they result in great mismatches, material means big differences, they result in big mismatches which are unidentified, then there's a need of forensic audit. Then any illegal activity of fraud is happening, it is again area of forensics audit. Sir, what kind of illegal activity can happen in a particular company? Yes, fraud can happen, but what kind of illegal activity can happen in a company? Guys, sexual harassment at work is a very common phenomenon. Sexual harassment at work. And sometimes what happens is top management is not even aware of the sexual harassment which is taking place in the company, but it is happening. Or any kind of bullying is happening in the company. That is again a form of corporate misfeasance. And fraud, forensics audit also takes care of these unethical practices which are there in the company. Any kind of partialism with respect to caste, creed, age, any partiality which is happening in the employees because of these factors is also undertaken by the forensics auditors. Like females are not getting opportunity in a particular company, males are getting opportunity to grow, females are not getting opportunity to grow in a particular company. It is a area of forensics audit. Someone of a particular caste is not getting growth opportunity because he belongs to a lower caste or upper caste or whatever. Caste, creed, sex, religion, these forms basis of partiality. And people who does this partiality are subject to forensics audit. So forensics audit is not only financial, it doesn't only deal with financial fraud, it also deals with any kind of unethical practices which is followed in a particular corporate, in a particular company. Any unethical practices or any illegal activity which is happening in the company, forensics auditors will be taken care of. Okay. So investigation methodology of forensics audit, what are the various ways? Okay, turnover has occurred, balances are showing negative results. So turnover is there for a company, sales is there for a particular company. Okay, huge sales are there, but profit is negative, so there's a loss. Huge sales are there, but there's a loss. The chances are that the company has inflated its expenses. Expenses are inflated, expenses are huge in that particular company, and therefore this situation has arisen that sales are high and profits are resulting into negative results, which means there are losses in the company. So in this situation also forensics audit is ordered. Investigation methodology for forensic audit. What is the investigation methodology? What are the steps that are to be taken while investigating a particular fraud? Accept the forensic engagement. Yes, this is the first step, that first of all think whether you want to accept the forensic engagement or not. Then evaluate the allegation of suspicions. Whatever the the doubts are regarding fraud or regarding any conflict of interest, you evaluate those. Conduct due diligence, backgrounds and background notes. Due diligence means we conduct the thorough investigation of the background. Okay, who's doing this fraud? Where does he come from? Is he from a criminal background? Has he done similar crime before also in the company or any other company? You do a background check. You go to past and do a background check. And then you do a foreground check, which means preliminary stage of investigation. You investigate the current scenario, whatever fraud has been done that particular person right now, you investigate that. Okay, so you investigate, this is the stage of investigation, you investigate that. Check the prediction, assuming that there will be litigation. So, what are the predictions, what are the future steps that we need to take in curbing this fraud? What's the prediction that, till what area this fraud would have been extended? Begin with an external investigation. Then you go outside the organization, collect proofs outside the organization, gathering required proofs and evidences, prepare a report, and then do a court proceedings. So these are the steps of forensic audit. Now, what do you mean by corporate frauds? And what leads to corporate fraud? I mean, why would an employee do a corporate fraud? Okay, that's the question. What do you mean by corporate fraud? And why would an employee do a corporate fraud? That is the question. Because employee is there to earn money. Employee is there to earn salary. Why would he do a fraud? Or management is there for managing the particular company and getting remuneration in return. Why would management do a fraud? So let's see, what do you mean by corporate fraud? Corporate fraud consists of illegal or unethical deceptive actions. Deceptive action means to dupe someone of the reality. You don't tell reality to someone, okay? You tell someone fake news. That is known as deception. Any deceptive action committed by a company or individual employee of the company. This is known as corporate fraud. Why do they happen? Because the company wants to attract the investors. The first and foremost reason why corporate frauds happen is that there's a potential investor who's going to invest in the company. They want to put their money in the company. You want maximum money, you want maximum valuation. So you deceive them. You show them fake sales. You show them fake profits. You show them fake assets. You deceive them. So desire to attract or retain investors is one of the reasons of corporate frauds. Amid highly competitive global business environment, many companies manipulate their financial records to make them appear more profitable than it is to attract or retain the investors. We want to attract the investors, we want to retain the investors, so we show a rosy picture of our financial statements. Second reason is problems or defects within the company products. So if there's problem or defect in the company's product itself, to hide that problem, to hide the problems of that product, the company does corporate frauds. This is very rampant in pharmaceutical industry, where they try to hide the side effects or the dangers associated with the medicine. So in a pharmaceutical company or in a medicine company, of course they want to hide the side effects of that particular medicine. So they would not disclose it. This is again a kind of a fraud. Side effects are to be disclosed on the wrapper of the medicine itself, but they won't disclose it. Now the question is, why would someone do a fraud? Why would they enter into a fraud? Okay, so there's a theory of a fraud triangle which explains why anyone does a fraud. The theory of fraud triangle which explains why would someone do a fraud, why would someone commit a fraud, what is the reason why someone would commit a fraud. So according to this theory, a person needs three things to commit a fraud. These are the three things which a person needs to commit a fraud. Number one, pressure. That particular person should be under a pressure, or emotionally or financially or socially, to raise his standard, and that is why he commits a fraud. What do I mean by that? I mean that person wants a Mercedes Benz. That person wants more earning for his wife, for his children, for his family. Someone is not well, someone is ill in his family, someone is sick in that person's family. He wants money for treating that particular person, so he requires the money. These are some of the reasons why someone will commit a fraud. So that person should be under pressure. He should be under financial, emotional force pushing towards a fraud. Maybe his family is pushing towards a fraud. Maybe his peers are getting promoted a lot, they are earning good money, but he is not earning that money in that age in which he is. According to his age, he is not justifying his value. Whatever might be the pressure, first first essential element of fraud is there should be some pressure. Second, opportunity. There should be an opportunity to commit fraud, which means company's internal controls are so weak, the controls which are employed by the company are so weak, they can be broken easily, and therefore there's an opportunity that fraud can happen. So as we all studied yesterday, job rotation or segregation of duties are two useful ways of internal controls. But if the two employees shake hands and the internal control is broken so easily, then they will be able to do the fraud. So second is opportunity. You should have opportunity. The employee should have opportunities, which means there should be weak internal controls pursuant to which fraud can happen. Opportunity should be there. Third, rationalization. Rationalization means in their head, the employee would convince itself, it's okay, I deserve it. I did not get the promotion, so I deserve it. It's okay. If if whenever a salary comes, I will repay the money back to the company. So these are the rationalization which employees put in his mind. They rationalize their doings, their wrongdoings. They justify their wrongdoings. Why did I do the wrong? Some employees said, oh, it is my bonus, I deserve it. My manager did not give it to me, so I extracted from him. Some people say that. So these three are the essential elements of a fraud commitment. Now, which out of these three are in hands of the management to control? Only this one. Only this one. Management cannot control pressure. Management cannot control the rationalization which is there in mind of the employee. But yes, management can control the opportunity. Management can have strong internal controls. Management can have strong, strong connections. Therefore, management can control the wrongdoings by giving a fair opportunity, by not giving a fair opportunity for fraud. So this thing is under control of the management. Management should work on this thing. Okay. So yes, opportunity is there, pressure is there, and rationalization is there. If these three things are there, fraud will happen. Breaking the fraud triangle. Now to reduce the fraudulent activity and to break the fraud triangle, the focus should be on opportunity. Internal controls should be so strong, opportunity should be so less that no one is able to commit fraud in that particular company. Now, what are the red flags for fraud? What are the things that the company should be seeing in the employee or company should be seeing in the management, which raises some concerns for the auditors itself? Okay, so what are the red flags? What are the indications that fraud might happen in this particular company? What are the indications? The indications of fraud are: number one, employee red flags. Employee lifestyle suddenly changes. Employees using expensive cars, employees using expensive jewelry, employees purchasing home, it is wearing branded clothes. This is an indication that he might be doing some fraud. Significant personal debt and credit problems. So if employee has significant personal debts, it has to repay to several debtors, maybe due to his family conditions. He has less money and a lot of liability to be paid, then it's again a red flag that he might commit some fraud. Then behavioral changes. If there's some behavioral changes in the employees, indication of drugs, alcohol, gambling, or any other factor which the employees which is visible in the employee, then it can actually be a red flag towards any kind of unethical practice. High employee turnover. If turnover of employees is really high, employees are leaving the company a lot, then of course there's an indication that there can be areas of fraud. Refusal to take vacation or sick leave. Some employees don't go on vacation. They say, no, we don't want vacation. We don't want sick leave. They get their sick leave lapsed. How is it possible? The reason is very clear. They don't want their fraud to be unearthed by someone else doing their work when they are not there. So they don't take leaves at all. So wherever you find that employees are not taking leaves or vacations, then there's an indication that some fraud might be happening. Lack of segregation of duties. Wherever there is a lack of segregation of duties means one employee is doing everything in the entire company, or one transaction entirely is done by one employee. Thus, that is a red flag for employees for fraud. Then management red flags. Some red flags are related to management of the company. Management frequently overrides internal control. So management is actually breaking internal controls very frequently because of their power. They are misusing their power. Management is misusing their strengths to override controls. That is a very big red flag. Management decisions are dominated by individual or small group. So management decisions are taken by only one person. One person is the supremo of the company. He is taking every decision. He is not consulting anyone else for taking the decision. Again, indication that some kind of fraud can happen in this company. Manager displays significant disrespect for regulatory bodies. The managers are not respecting the regulatory bodies. They are saying, oh, dekh lenge. Aane do GST walon ko dekh lenge. Let income tax authorities come, we'll see. Let Companies Act authorities come, we'll see. It indicates that there's some indication of bribery or corruption which is there in the management. If they are not fearing the regulatory body, then of course corruption and bribery can be there. Policies and procedures are not documented or enforced. So no documentation is there for policies, no formal SOPs are there, weaknesses are there in the entire management system. This is again an indication. Accounting personnel is lax or inexperienced in their duties. So people who are lacking the expertise and experience, they again might result into a fraud. Decentralization without adequate monitoring. So the authority is decentralized to the lower level managers. Authority is decentralized to lower level managers. So lower level managers are actually taking decisions. However, no monitoring is there for their decisions. No control is there. Again, fraud can happen in that case. An excessive number of checking accounts, year-end transactions. There are a lot of accounts which are, the intermediary accounts or accounts which are going to be set off. Contra entries, a lot of contra entries are there. So a lot of checking accounts are there, and the year-end transactions also a lot. Refusal to use serial numbered documents. Receipts are not serial numbered. The sales invoice is not serial numbered. This indicates that management wants to infuse sale invoice after the year end. So refusal to use serial number documents is again fraud proof. Compensation program is out of proportion. There is no compensation program for the employees. It's not regularized. Photocopied or missing documents. Documents are missing, or photocopy is being available given to you. They are not providing you the originals. Especially bank statements. Bank statements cannot be accepted in a photocopy mode. No, cannot be accepted. Reluctance to provide information, to engage in frequent disputes with the auditors. So, management is very reluctant in giving you explanations. They don't give you adequate explanations for your questions. Again, an indication that something is wrong. Okay. Now, fraud was never a focus area earlier in Companies Act 1956, because at that point in time, big frauds never happened. There was not so much of pressure. India was under, the closed economy kind of a scenario, where in a closed economy there was only one player. If there's only one player, there can be hardly any fraud, because that player is the supremo. He's earning enough profits. He's getting good profits, so he doesn't worry. But things changed after 1990. And things changed after 1990 due to fierce competition, due to various companies coming in for various products. The big giants lost their sheen. And it is then when, corporate scandals started to happen. After 1990s only, corporate scandal started to happen, especially after 2000. So from 1990 to 2000, this was the era of restructuring of Indian economy. Economy was reconstructing. It was opened up, right? And after 2000, it actually went global. And this is the phase when corporate scandals started happening. So, the Companies Act 2013 first time introduced the separate definition for fraud under section 447. Very important. SFIO was established, Serious Fraud Investigation Office, under section 212 of the Act, to inquire for any frauds which has happened in the country. White collar fraud, we are talking about white collar crime. Whatever fraud happened in the country, SFIO was established to inquire about those frauds. This is a very serious investigative agency, just like CID, just like Enforcement Directorate, ED, just like ED, Enforcement Directorate. This is a very serious body, very senior body. Okay. Section 447 is the combination of several sections of IPC, including 405, 415, 463, 477A. These are all included in 447. The Act has introduced strict punishment for persons who are found to be guilty for fraud. Okay. And the punishment also included imprisonment. Then the fine was up to three times of the fraud. Fine is up to 3 times of the fraud. And the offense of fraud is non-bailable. You cannot get a bail from jail. It is non-compoundable. Compounding means that you pay some money and you are relieved of your imprisonment. It is non-compoundable, non-bailable. So if you get convicted under fraud, you will be jailed for sure. And there will be no respite. There will be no rescue. Okay, sir, got it. Now, what are the techniques of forensics audit, and what are the techniques of financial forensics? What is financial forensics, and what are its techniques that you use while doing financial forensics? That we are going to see now. In the chart also, these are the triangle, the fraud triangle, and then you have financial forensics. This is financial forensics and forensic audit techniques. So first of all, what is financial forensics? Financial forensics is combination of accounting and investigation. When accounting investigation happens, this is known as financial forensics or forensic audit. Main purpose is to discover or gather evidence of criminal activity involving money. So there's some criminal activity which is involving money. That is the analysis which is required to be done. Again, it also includes all the white-collared crime. White-collared crimes are included in this forensics audit. FF professionals help prevent financial crime and recover lost assets. And FF professionals also work with investors to find investment opportunities to determine their true value. So valuation is again a very important area of forensic audit. Valuation should not be overstated, should not be understated, should be accurate. The problem is that there is no valuation standard in the country. So there is no technique in which we can say that yes, this valuation is correct, this is not correct. There is no such standard. But still it has to be accurate. Cases where financial forensic professionals may prove to be useful. So financial theft wherever the customers or the employees or any other individual steals money from an organization, that is again an area of financial forensics. Securities fraud or share market fraud. This is a very common fraud. Many companies uses false information to inflate their prices. And then after the false information is used, after the false narrative is set, after that the companies would sell off their shares and go off. They'll be duped of lakhs and lakhs of rupees. The investors will be duped of lakhs and lakhs of rupees. Entire investors' wealth will be eroded. The wealth will be eroded. So this is another kind of securities fraud, is one of the very important kinds of forensic fraud. Money laundering, yes, you prepare shell companies and you launder money. You make money using illegal sources. You use wrong techniques to park your black money. Black money is something which you earn on which you have not paid the income tax, and you park that money in some sources like purchasing property, benami property. Benami property means property which is not in name of anyone. So as benami property, whose owners are not disclosed to Government of India. Just like Swiss bank accounts. There are Swiss bank accounts of Indians. Name of Indians is not disclosed to Indian government. Crores and crores of rupees are stored in Swiss bank account. Name of individuals who own that money is not disclosed. Yes, this is known as benami activity. So money laundering is one of the very important area of forensics audit, and if any money laundering takes place using shell companies means artificial companies, then money laundering is done, then forensics audit is required. Corporate valuation disputes. So to know the fair price of the shares of a company for which investors are pitching in, we need a good valuation. If there's a dispute, we can invite forensic auditors. Tax evasion, very, very important. Smart ways of evading tax. You evade tax using smart techniques. Illegitimate means. I'll give you a very good example of tax evasion where smartness happens. Let's see. Okay. This is Mauritius. This is India. The two countries, Mauritius and India. I'm going to teach you tax evasion, which now is no more a avenue. Earlier it was, but now government has plugged this loophole, okay? But I'll tell you what is the fraud which happens over here. I'm a person who's in India. I have 100 crore rupees with me. What I want to do is, I want to open a company in India which manufactures something. I want to open a company which manufactures something. I want to put this 100 crore rupees inside the company, and I want to establish a company to manufacture something. Now, when I manufacture today, I put this 100 crores in the company and I buy shares of this particular company. Of course, the shares will be my shares, right? After 10 years, I want to pull back this shares back. I want my money back. The 100 crores shares will be 150 crores. I want my money back. I will sell these shares to someone else after 10 years. After 10 years, I'll be subject to capital gains, which is again quite a huge percentage in India. I'll be subject to capital gains, which will be again a very huge, income to Indian government, and it's an expense for me. Okay. Now, I don't want to pay this capital gain tax after 10 years. No, I don't want to pay this capital gain tax. Please suggest me a method where I am not required to pay this capital gain tax. I'll tell you a very good way. Okay. So instead of putting this money directly into Indian company, what should I do? I should first invest this money in a Mauritian company, which is a fake company or a shell company. I should invest 100 crores in the shell company, which is outside India. Okay. And this company should invest into the Indian company. So, according to the treaty between Mauritius and India, erstwhile treaty, not the current treaty. Current treaty is changed now. I'm talking about the old treaty. According to the old treaty of Mauritius and India, whatever capital gains accrues to a Mauritian company is taxable at 0% tax rate. So net effect, I will be taxable at 0% tax rate after 10 years for this capital gain. So this company will get the capital gain without tax, and the shell company will remit this money to me in India without tax. This is our evade tax. This is known as round tripping for evading tax. This is known as round tripping for evading tax. Again, a subject matter of forensics audit. If someone does this, it creates a fake company outside India, invest money in that fake company, and then again reinvest into India. This is absolutely an area of forensic audit. This is not permissible. This is fraud. This benefit that capital gain is taxed is zero is only for genuine Mauritian companies. It is for genuine Mauritian companies and not for any other company. And this way you are drawing a fake company in Mauritius. This is the wrong way. This is incorrect. So this kind of tax evasion happens. A company might try to hide profits in a shell corporation so they don't have to pay taxes on it. This is subject matter of forensics audit. Now, what do you think should be the qualities of forensic accountant or auditor? Should he be a CMA? Answer is no. Should he be a chartered accountant? No. He doesn't need any specific qualification. Forensic audit can be done by anyone. But he should have a knowledge of financial aspects of a particular company. Knowledge of financial aspect is a must. Understanding of accounting transactions and impacts. What are the accounting transactions and what are the impacts of accounting transaction, that is required. Understanding of internal financial controls, IFC. And wherever there are weak controls, he should be able to identify it. He should have a logical mindset. More than knowledge, he needs mindset. Smart person is required. Very good. Yes, smart person is required. Attention to detail. He should urge to dig deeper into financials. He should be able to dig deeper into financials. Give value to moral principles. Moral principles are very important. He should be ethical. He should be integral. He should be honest, right? Questions everything or inquisitiveness. He should be, questioning everything. He should be inquisitive. And he should be spontaneous. He should be able to take decisions there and then. His gut feeling should be strong. He should be spontaneous. So these are the qualities of a forensic auditor or an accountant. We don't need any degrees for doing forensic audit. We don't need any qualification for doing forensic audit. We need smart people to do forensic audit. That's really important. Now, investigative techniques for forensic audit. What are the techniques which are used in forensic accounting or forensic auditing? So as soon as you start forensics investigation, the first thing that you do is a background check. First thing that you do is a background check. I'll tell you what is a background check, okay? We used to do it before our audit also. Okay. So you open Google. You open Google. I'll tell you a very simple way of doing background check, okay? In the Google dashboard, you write the name of the managing director of the company. Okay, first you write the name of the company, okay? You write name of the company. The name of the company is Sham Enterprises. Okay. Then you put a space. Then you put words like fraud, embezzlement, funds, cheating, court, proceeding. So you write every negative word that you can think of. Every negative word that you can think of to do a background check. This is a very simple way, okay? And you type a search, Google search. And then for this particular industry, which is Sham Industries, for this particular industry, which is Sham Industry, you will get all the cases which are filed against this industry of embezzlement, of any kind of court proceedings or any kind of fiances, nuances which were there for this particular industry. You will get all of them in one go. Okay, let me open it in Google Chrome. Google Chrome. Okay. So, Sham Industries. Sham Industries. Fraud. Embezzlement. Court case. Money laundering, money launder, etc., etc. You put all these words and AI is also going to help you. There is no specific public information or court record found for the mention Sham Industries by name in connection with fraud, embezzlement or any money laundering case. This is a background check which you do once you start the forensic audit. A very simple way to do it, okay? Then after you've done it for the company, then you do it for the directors of the company, okay? You do it for the directors of the company also. Once you've done it for the company. So suppose the name of the director of the company is Nidhi Gupta. Nidhi Gupta is the director of the company. So we will say if any fraud case, any money laundering case has been registered under the name of Nidhi Gupta. So Nidhi Gupta fraud, embezzlement, court case, money laundering, misappropriation, tax evasion. We'll search for the director's name also, okay? These are the cases which are booked for, in the name of Nidhi Gupta. You will get all the cases which are there in the case of Nidhi Gupta versus state of UP, Nidhi Gupta versus Yogesh Gupta. You will get all the cases which are there in name of the directors also. Director's name is to be put, and then all these suffixes are to be added, and then you will get all the details of publicly available information. Use AI if possible, okay, and extract all the publicly available information. That is the first step of forensics audit. This way you will at least be able to start forensics audit, okay? So the first and foremost is review the public documents and conduct background check of the company plus key management personnel, KMP. Do background check for the company, also the key management personnel. For both of these people, you do the background check. Second, conduct detailed interviews. Now you conduct interviews of the starting from the top to the bottom, all the management personnel. You conduct an interview of the management personnel, because this is not financial statement audit that you will start seeing financials right away. You first of all will try to gather facts from the management personnel itself, who all are involved in the fraud, what is the extent of the fraud, what is the length and breadth of the fraud. You're gonna investigate it into using interviews, fully understand all the facts, accurately assess the gravity of the situation. Gravity means the seriousness. Assess the seriousness of the situation, the depth of illegal activity, and the culprit responsible, who all are responsible for this fraud. Then you gather information from some trustworthy sources. You further investigate into, further into matter, have some trustworthy resources. You will identify some management personnel itself who are trustworthy. You gain, information from those. Analyzing evidence gathered, whatever evidence is being gathered, you analyze those. You check whether they are correct or not. Conducting surveillance. You can physically visit the factory premises. You can electronically check the CCTV cameras. You can actually visit the place where fraud had happened, like Adidas, the shoes were stored in a warehouse. You can actually visit that warehouse. So you can actually do a physical surveillance. Conventional measures to uncover any fraud. It can be done by monitoring and tracking all official email IDs. You can track official email IDs and messages which have been sent on official email IDs. Going undercover, yes, you can do that. Just like I did in Lakshmi Motor Pumps Limited. I disguised myself as a fake customer and I went to Lakshmi Motors Limited. That is known as going undercover. You disguise yourself as something else and you investigate. This is known as going undercover. An extreme measure should be used only as a last resort, and that too in tandem with the police. In agreement with the police, you should do this step. Even a small mistake while being undercover can signal offender and that something is wrong, and that person might vanish or disappear from the scene. So be very careful when you are going undercover. That is really, something which is very risky, and going undercover is very risky. Okay. Next is ethical consideration, code of conduct in forensic audit. Now there are some ethical consideration also while conducting forensic audit. There are some ethics which are to be followed. Sometimes ethical issues are also faced by the forensic auditors. Like I've already told you, harassment at workplace, sexual harassment at workplace, or any kind of bullying at workplace. Okay, any kind of bullying or partiality with respect to creed, caste, color, weight, body shaming, all these are form and part and parcel of forensics audit, can be a part of forensics audit. So ethical considerations are also important while doing forensic audit, and code of conduct of forensic audit includes ethical considerations also. Harassment and discrimination at workplace. When you are partially treated at workplace because of your physical feature, your caste, your religion, your sexual preferences, you are treated differently in a particular organization, you are discriminated, then it is kind of a harassment. Harassment and discrimination are largest ethical issues that impact business owners today. Every business needs to be aware of anti-discrimination laws. So there are POSH, prevention of sexual harassment at work. POSH is there. So every businessman should be aware about these laws which are existing in the country, okay, that exist to protect employees from unjust treatment. Then different types of discrimination and harassment statutes are there, which are for people who are above 40 years, okay, or having some disability. Equal pay should be given to people irrespective of sex, race, religion, etc. Pregnancy, so pregnant women should not be treated differently. Should not be so that pregnant women are given half the salary. They are not given leaves, adequate leaves. So this hardship should not be there with pregnant women. Race, religion, sex, gender. Employee treatment is consistent regardless of race, ethnicity, religion or sex, gender. Then health and safety in the workplace should be taken care of. Healthy working environments should be given to the employees, and work related safety should be of utmost importance for any business person. Okay, and safe working conditions should be given to the employees, like fall protection. If employees are working at a very great height, if they are working on the top of the 20th floor of a particular building, they are working at great height, they are cleaning the windows, adequate protection should be there for them. Fall protection should be there. They should not fall from that particular stairs. Hazard communication. So if any harmful chemicals are there, then adequate protection should be given to the employees against those chemicals. So these are also part of forensics audit, guys, because that also can lead to some criminal activity. Some kind of loss to someone this can lead to, okay, if you are careless in these respects. Scaffolding, the resistance or maximum weight numbers, whenever you enter a lift, there's a maximum weight which is displayed over there, maximum number of people which is displayed over here, right? So that should be honored, that should be written everywhere. That should be mentioned on the lifts and everywhere wherever there is a weight issue. Respiratory problems. So sometimes in some industries, emergency procedure and respiratory filter equipment standards should be maintained. Sometimes when you work in an area where respiration is a problem, like mines, in mines you get a lot of dust inside your air, inside your lungs. So protection should be there, right? Now, those of you who stay in Delhi, they are aware that after Diwali, what kind of respiratory problems do they face, right? Only we know it, and there is no solution to it also. Although there is some forensic audit which can be conducted, but we all know the problem, and Delhi government accepts the problem, but we don't have a solution to it. The level of pollution is increasing by the day. AQI is falling by the day, but still we have no problem. We have no solution to the problem, right? So respiratory protection should be there for the employees. Lockout, tag out, controlling energy such as oil and gas. Hazardous things should be under protection. So if any gases are there, oils are there, they should be clearly be under covers. They should not leak, so that it will be bad for human race. Powered industrial trucks. So any industrial trucks are there, safety requirement for fire trucks, industrial trucks which are there, they should be under safety precautions. Ladders means the staircase. Ladders should be very carefully designed. How much weight can be stand by a ladder, that should be seen. Electrical wiring methods. How do you use electricity and wires to reduce any kind of short circuit and fire due to short circuit, that should be taken care of. Machine guarding. Machine requires guarding. Machine cutters, shears, power presses, because it may so happen that the worker who's using the machine, his hands get cut or fingers get cut. That protection should be there. Electric generation, general requirements. Now there are sometimes psychological risk at work also. When the work is high demanding, when you are working for say 12 hours a day, when you are not getting leaves, when you are not getting adequate time with your family, then employees sometimes get depressed. So even psychological consideration should be taken care of. Psychological health of the employee should also be not compromised. Yes. Okay. Then we have ethics and accounting practices. What are the ethics that are there in the accounting practices? What are the ethics in accounting practices? What are the ethical standards which you should follow in our accounting practices? That is what we are going to study now. Any questions till now? Any questions that you want to ask? Okay, so next is ethics in accounting practices. What are the ethics which you should maintain in accounting practices? An organization must maintain accurate bookkeeping practices. So, adequate bookkeeping practices should be there. Bookkeeping should be done in an appropriate manner. All the transactions should be recorded appropriately, right amount, right date, right time, everything should be right, should be done in an accurate manner. So, that is the first and foremost ethical requirement that is required in accounting practices. Cooking the books, okay, or window dressing of books is not permitted. You have taken a loan of 200 crores from a bank, but you are showing only 50 crores in your books of account. That is cooking of books. It's an unethical practice. You're not disclosing the right features in the books of accounts. That is an unethical practice. So you have to not cook your books, you have to not do window dressing, you have to conduct your accounting in an ethical manner. Non-disclosure and corporate espionage. So it says that many employers are at risk of current and former employees stealing their information, selling it to competitors. So many employees who are handling sensitive information of the company, they might sell the information to the outsiders. So that is a risk which is there. When intellectual property is stolen, sometimes the intellectual property of the client is stolen, of the company is stolen. For example, the videos which you are getting, they are all in encrypted form. Then someone might break the encryption and extract the video and circulate it amongst the students. This is the risk which are facing in our business. Companies may put in place mandatory non-disclosure agreements. So yes, whosoever is privy to the the information or the videos that we give, like you also, when we give the video to you, when you open the video in your laptop, there's a disclaimer which comes, which is a non-disclosure disclaimer, that you undertake that you will not disclose these videos to anyone else. You will watch these videos for your own purpose. You will not de-encrypt this video and use it for any commercial purpose. These are the disclaimers which you say a yes to when you open the videos which are provided to you by us. So non-disclosure agreements should definitely be there while you are disclosing your business information. How to address the ethical issues in business. First of all, the first requirement is being aware. Please be aware of the discrimination laws. Whichever laws is there in the market against discrimination, you should be aware about those laws. Those laws should be very apparent with you, and those laws should be clearly known to each and every top management. And wherever there are compliances required, those laws should be trained to the employees also. Those laws should be given to the employees also. So I still remember when I was working for the Big Fours, annually once a year I had to mandatorily undergo all these trainings. Discrimination, I will not do discrimination. I used to say accept, submit. The company used to take a declaration from me, from an employee, that yes, you will not undertake any discrimination at work. You will not discriminate anyone on the basis of their caste, creed, religion, etc. So I used to give that disclaimer, okay? So you should be aware about the discrimination laws. That's the first principle. Then you should provide written policies to the employees so that they can also follow the anti-discrimination policies. Policies should both be communicated and acknowledged and adhered to. So they should be communicated to the employee. The employee should also acknowledge that yes, I have read through the policy. To detect and deter ethical issues in business, you should detect the you should find out the ethical issues. Okay, detect means find out the ethical issues, and deter means you should avoid the ethical issues. Let them not happen. Collaborate with accountants, maintaining transparency, honesty in financial reporting. You should maintain transparency in accounting reporting. You should be transparent in your dealing with the accounts. Then there are three primary challenges while you are implementing any kind of anti-discrimination policy or new policy with respect to avoidance of sexual harassment at work or avoidance of discrimination at work. Whenever you are implementing these policies, there are three common problems which come. What are those three problems? Resistance from employees. Employees would try to resist it. Whenever you try to implement new policy, ethics policy, that ethics will be followed in business, then employees try to restrict it. They try to refrain it because they feel that their freedom will be lost. If an anti-body shaming policy is introduced in the company that you cannot body shame, then employees feel that we will not be able to joke around. This light jokes which we crack, we will not be able to joke around if this policy is in place. So employees will feel that. So employees usually resist these policies being floated in the company. They usually resist it. Okay. So the first challenge in the implementation of the new policy will be, it will face resistance from the employees. So you should make them understand the importance of this policy and the legal framework behind this policy, and only then will the employees be able to understand it. Next is cost of training. Another implementation fees is high. So cost of training each and every employee according to these policies and cost of implementing these policies is quite high. We first need an expert who is trained in these ethical issues and these policies, who has read through the law, who can devise some certificates which are required to be taken from the employees. So this is a costly affair. It's not cheap, it's very costly. We need professionals, we need experts who can draw questionnaires for us. It is not cheap, it's costly. Then inability to determine ROI of the ethical policies. So there's no ROI of the ethical policies, no. So every expense in a business is justified by a return which it is getting. There's no return in implementing an ethical policy. It's just beneficial for the company. There's no return. So a thing which is without any return in a company, it is difficult to sail through. If you say to the managing director, I want to do the expense, this expense, managing director will always say, what is the benefit that company is going to derive out of it in monetary terms? And there's no benefit which company is going to derive out of this expenditure in monetary terms. So that is a lacuna, that's a problem. So there's no ROI which can be generated because of these ethical policies. So it's a difficult thing to sail through. So these are the three primary challenges when you are implementing any kind of ethics policy in any business, and in any company. If you introduce such policies, it will be a problem. Okay, next is auditors. Okay, so from perspective of auditors, what are the challenges which auditors face in any audit? That's what we are going to see now, and specifically in forensic audit. Okay, so auditors, the fundamental principles of an auditor includes honesty, integrity, objectivity, professional competence, due diligence, professional behavior. Following are the threats to independence of auditors. Now we have already studied that auditor should be independent. Independent means uninfluenced, unbiased. What is the meaning of the word independence? Independence means uninfluenced, or unbiased. The auditor should not favor someone. Okay, the auditor should not favor the client. He should give an unbiased opinion, influenced opinion. The opinion should not be influenced by any factor. The opinion should not be influenced by any activity, or his personal affection for the client should not be influenced. Should be unbiased. Should give you the fact. Auditor should always state the fact in the auditor's report. But there are some threats which are impacting the opinion of the auditor, and if these threats are there, then auditor will not be able to give his unbiased opinion. Auditor will not be able to give his clear opinion. What are these threats? Number one, self-interest threat. Self-interest threat. Wherever the auditor is holding some shares in the company, if the auditor is holding some shares in the company, then auditor will be afraid of giving any negative report, because then it will lead to downfall of the share price. This is known as self-interest threat. If auditor's wife is the MD of the company, then auditor will not give any negative report in the auditor's report, because then his wife will lose the credibility. His wife is going to be negatively impacted. So these kind of threats are bad for independence of the auditor. Auditor will not be able to give an unbiased opinion if these threats are there. So first and foremost is that self-interest threat. Auditor or any of his immediate family members hold direct or indirect financial interest in the company, then there will be a self-interest threat. So this should not be there. Next is self-review threat. Now I've told you a lot of times that a statutory auditor cannot be a cost auditor of the same company. This is the rule which we have studied in our cost accounting record rules. A statutory auditor cannot be a cost auditor of the same company. Why? Why not? Because a person who has done a work, he will not be able to find problems in his own work. So if I give you a test and if I ask you to check your test yourself without giving you answers, you will give yourself 25 out of 20. You will get 5 marks extra for good handwriting. So no one will ever be able to identify its own mistakes. This is known as self-review threat. And if the auditor is auditing his own work, if the books of accounts are written by the auditor and he is only auditing those books of accounts, he will never be able to find out flaws in the books of accounts. That is another threat which auditor's independence is there. So this threat exists if auditor is auditing his own work when it is done by others in the same firm. For example, auditor prepares financial statements for ABC company while also serving as the auditor of ABC company. Then it's a threat. Advocacy threat. Advocacy threats means whenever the auditor is the auditor is involved in publicizing the company, it is promoting the company for any purpose. For example, auditor is the agent of the company. Auditor is auditing the financials of the company. He is also supplying the goods of the company as an agent. Now, as an agent, the auditor has to tell people good about the products of the company and tell people about the benefits of the company. Okay. On the same hand, auditor also has to write truth in its auditor's report. These are two conflicting things. Conflicting things. At the one hand, the auditor is praising the company. Oh, company is very good. Company is doing this. Company is doing that. He's praising the company. On the other hand, he writes negative words about the company in the auditor's report. These are two contradictory things. So auditor should not be in any such position where he is advocating for the company. Otherwise, his words will fall wrong in the auditor's report. So it's really important to avoid the advocacy threats. This exists if auditor is involved in promoting the client for where their objectivity is potentially compromised. Familiarity threat. The auditor should not be too personally related with the company. For example, the auditor's wife is MD of the company. This imposes a familiarity threat. The auditor is so closely related to the company that he will assume that, oh, my wife cannot do anything wrong. He will assume that. Oh, he's my best friend. I've seen him from past many years. He's the CFO of this company. I'm the auditor of that company. He will not do anything wrong. No. He cannot do anything wrong. This is known as familiarity threat. So familiarity threat hampers audit a lot. So this should not be there. Intimidation threat. Wherever the auditor is, is under some obligation from the company, then he might be intimidated. Intimidated means forced or pressurized. So suppose auditor has taken loan of 5 lakh rupees from the company. Okay. and the auditor is saying that I will not be able to repay the loan to the company, so please write it off. So company is saying to the auditor, okay, you don't repay the loan, that's okay, but you remove the qualification which is there in the audit report. This is the intimidation threat, that the client might be able to overpower the auditor and he might extract some undue advantage of the auditor. This is known as intimidation threat, force threat, pressure threat. This is again a kind of impairment of the independence of the auditor. It arises when the auditor is threatened physically or mentally. Both the threatening can be there. Physical threatening can also be there and mental threatening can also be there. For example, auditor is given a threat that if he reports objectively, then audit fee will not be paid to him. We will not pay the audit fee if he reports objectively. Okay, sir. Now, code of conduct in forensics audit. Now, guys, we need some kind of code of conduct in forensic audit. What should be done in forensic audit? What should not be done in forensic audit? There should be some standards. However, as of now, there are no publicly recognized or regulatory recognized standards of forensics audit. Whatever is done done on the basis of experience of the auditors, and there is no standard authority that gives any professional standards on auditing. However, there is authority which gives you standards, but it is not recognized at a government level. Which is that authority? That authority is Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. It's known as ACFE. But no government affiliation is there as of now for this authority. But it provides codes for professional standards, which all the fraud examiners are doing these days. These standards express basic principles of ethical behavior to guide auditors in fulfilling their duties and obligations. Okay. Then, what are the standards of professional code conduct? December 2024 exam question. So, what are the standards which every forensic auditor or fraud examiner should follow? What are the standards? First of all, integrity and objectivity, of course, without any doubt. The conduct of the auditor should be with integrity, honesty, objectivity. He should be able to say right and wrong to the situations which are right and wrong. He should be able to objectively, state things. Certified fraud examiners shall conduct themselves with integrity. Then certified fraud examiners shall investigate for actual or potential conflicts of interest. So wherever there are conflict of interest, they should be able to identify those conflict of interest and they should be able to remove them. Certified fraud examiners shall not knowingly make a false statement. They should not make a false statement after knowing that it is false. Okay. Then CFE shall comply with lawful orders of the courts or other dispute resolution bodies. So whatever the courts are saying to the auditors, they should be able to follow it. CFE shall not commit criminal acts and knowingly induce others to do so. So obviously, the fraud examiners should not do any criminal act. They should not help anyone in doing criminal activities. Then they should be professionally competent. For example, their education should be good enough, their experience should be good enough. Okay. Now, they should take professional consultation or referral if required. If they require some professional, professional help, like they want to conduct a undercover inquiry about a particular company, they should take help of the police or of the administration department. They should take help. Now, CFE shall maintain minimum program of continuing professional education. So, professional education means CPE. So, there should be some learning which should grow the professionals at every stage, which should help professionals gain insights into whatever is happening in the market on a real-time basis. They should engage into professional expertise. CFE shall continually strive to increase the competence and effectiveness of their professional service. They should increase their level of level of expertise. They should increase their competence with every going year. Professional care should be absolutely given by the CFE. Obviously, guys, if I'm not careful in doing my work, how will I be able to identify the frauds and reasons of the frauds? I should be very careful. Due diligence means you should be very careful. You should not be careless. So CFE shall exercise due professional care, that is diligence, being careful, critically analyze and professional skepticism in performance of their services. Auditor's conclusion shall be supported with relevant evidences. So whatever conclusions you draw as a CFE, you should support it by some proof. You should not just say, oh, this company is having fraud of 5,000 crores. You should have some proof also to support your thesis. Work performed by assistants shall be adequately supervised by the CFE. So whatever the work is done by junior level staff, it should be reviewed by the senior level staff. Understanding with client or the employer. So what kind of understanding is there with the client or the employer is also very, very important. at the beginning of fraud examination, certified fraud examiner shall obtain an understanding of the client or employer. Who's their client, who's their employer. They should know their client well before audit is being started. Scope and limitation. What is the scope of this audit? What all areas to be covered, what all areas not to be covered. Scope and limitation should be stated over there. Responsibility of party involved, who shall do what. This should be clearly given in the engagement letter. In case of change in scope, that should be documented. If there's any change in scope during the course of audit, that should be documented by both the parties. Communication with the client or the employer. The CFE should communicate to the client or the employer with respect to his findings of the fraud examination before reporting it to Government of India or before reporting it to the regulatory authority. Confidentiality should of course be maintained by the CFE. So CFE should not go ahead and blabber about his findings to the world. It might lead to insider trading. I'll tell you my own story, of insider trading, where by mistake I did insider trading for one of my clients. Yes, I did audit of this very big listed entity. It was located in Ludhiana. I went, did audit over there. When I came back to office, there was my friend who was sitting next to me who was on another audit. I told him, oh, I did audit of this big listed client, which is this. I told him the name. He said, oh wow, what did you find out? I found out that this particular company is buying a land in Punjab and is having a joint venture with a Japanese company to manufacture something which is very new to Indian market. No one has ever seen this kind of product in Indian market. It's really new. He inquired what kind of product is it. I told him the entire details of the product. And the same day that particular person bought shares of that company. And within 2 months, when the information was public, the share went double. And this is where I realized that I did insider trading. I did wrong. I did insider trading. So loose talks about clients. Loose talks about clients is absolutely an unethical behavior from an auditor standpoint. And of course, the same is true for fraud investigators also. So CFE shall not disclose confidential or privileged information obtained during the course of fraud investigation. You have to remain absolutely professional, absolutely secret about the information of the client. You should not blabber about the client to general public. You should not say big things about client to anyone. And the next is, sir, do we have any professional opportunities with respect to forensics audit? Absolutely yes. Each one of you who will become a CMA tomorrow, he is privy to this very new area of work, which is forensic audit. As of now, forensic audit is mostly done by the big fours, but there's no restriction to it. Even a CA, CMA, CS, or even if you are nothing, then also you can do forensic audit. So this is an area of professional opportunity for each one of you. And the best part is Institute of Cost Accountants of India, Kolkata, and all the chapters, have introduced a special course on forensic audit for its members. You undertake that course and then you can start your professional career as a forensic auditor, if you are really keen in this particular area. So there are a lot of professional opportunities in this area as of now, because the area is niche. The area doesn't have any competition right now. There are not much professionals in the country with respect to forensic audit. So this is an area which even you can vouch for. You can also undertake this area as your professional career. So need for forensic accountants, growing cyber crimes, failure for regulators to track the security scams. Even the regulators are not able to track the security scams. Series of cooperative bank bursting. Banks are now showing up as their NPAs are growing. Growing frauds in India. Out of 2609 frauds in 2018, 72 were in India. Okay, so this is the growing frauds in India. Hence, there is a growing need to those who can identify and put up relevant control to prevent such mishappenings. So yes, there is a very high need for these professionals, forensic professionals in the country. Prerequisites. What are the things that is needed in a forensic auditor or an accountant? He should remain alert and maintain high degree of professional skepticism. He should be very, very careful and vigile. Vigilance is very important. He should be careful and vigilant. He should keep your eyes and ears open at all times. That is the first and foremost requirement. He is required to have immense knowledge of the financial aspect. He should have good understanding of internal financial controls of the company and identify the weaknesses of the internal financial control. I think we have already done this topic in qualities of internal auditors. Okay, this topic is a repeat of qualities of forensic auditor. So both the topics are the same, but this last line is different. Please highlight this last line. Professional qualification that can give you extra edge. Institute of Cost Accountants of India in Kolkata conducting advanced diploma in forensic audit, which gives some insight on the subject, helps improve your skills. So yes, after qualifying your CMA, you can go for this course if you are really interested in the forensic audit. Then what are the constituents of forensic audit? What all things are included in forensic audit? Assessment of fraud risk factors. You identify the factors which have led to this fraud. Evaluating internal controls. Wherever there are weaknesses in internal controls, you will note down those weaknesses. Devise appropriate internal controls. You will you will be required to devise or create internal controls subsequently. Identify high risk transactions for further review. Evaluating financial and program risk for potential fraud. Applying various evidence gathering techniques using detect fraud. So you have to detect fraud in future also. So have evidence gathering techniques over there. Justifying auditors' conclusion by providing reliable evidence. Evidence should be there. Documentation is very important. Then sharing the findings with the agency and how to avoid fraud in the future. That is your scope of work as a fraud investigator. And if you become a fraud investigator, if you become a forensic auditor, then it is not necessary that you will only be invited when a fraud has occurred. No. You will be invited even when the fraud has not occurred, and if there is a susceptibility of fraud, if there is a possibility of fraud, company will invite you and company will tell you that you please introduce internal controls that can reduce any fraud in the company. You might be required to do that also. So it's a very multi-layered profession. Forensic audit is a very multi-layered profession. Then we have the past examination question, guys. Okay. In each of the attempt, almost in each of the attempt, one question, theoretical question has been asked in the examination, and accordingly I presume that a question will definitely come in the current examination also. So you please be prepared with the past examination questions. You please be prepared thoroughly with the subject matter, and you have to of course learn a lot of things, and these charts will help you learn a lot of these things and revise them at the last moment. Okay, and guys, charts are uploaded on the app which you have, the app in which you are accessing your course. These charts are really uploaded on that app, so you can refer these charts in the app. That can be done by you. Okay, so yes, that's all for this particular chapter, guys, forensics audit. And yes, in great detail we have covered this particular topic because it is important from a theory standpoint, and I understand that a question will mandatorily come from this chapter. And guys, I'm taking those chapters where questions are mandatorily coming in the examination. Rest chapters you can just read. Audit documentation, I'm not taking up that up. Cost audit programs, I'm not taking that chapter up because I know that question might come or might not come. But these chapters, question will definitely come. Therefore, I'm taking up these chapters in your marathon section. Okay? Alright, so that's all for this particular session, guys. We'll be meeting in a subsequent session. Till that time, all the very best and happy studying. Bye-bye. See you in the next session.